Members of NATO and the Russian Security Council concluded yesterday concerning a number of issues related to the expansion of member states, the continued fight against international terrorism, and the controversial use of Eastern European sites for the construction of America's missile defense system. With that in mind, this week we bring you a brief history of everyone's favorite treaty organization. So what exactly is NATO, anyway? The North Atlantic Treaty was originally signed on April 4th, 1949, and was comprised of 10 European countries, Canada, Great Britain, and the United States. While not explicitly stated, NATO was designed in order to act as a check against the possibility of Soviet aggression. In order to appreciate its complexity, you need to compare it to its closest social counterpart, junior high. Most of the European countries were small for their age and prone to bullying by their neighbor, Russia. Sensing a lunch money shakedown of epic proportions was in the making, they turned to the one kid that Russia was afraid of, the United States. The kid who had hit puberty years before anyone else. He was a 6-foot-tall 13-year-old who had a full mustache by the 7th grade and was constantly getting boners in math class. Maybe he wasn't as smart as some of the other kids, but as long as he was around, everyone felt a little better. You just had to keep him away from your sister. During the Cold War, these countries pretty much acted like a bunch of 14-year-olds, spreading rumors, spying on each other, and threatening to fight without ever exchanging blows. Russia even formed its own rival club, the Warsaw Pact, and spent much of its time picking on the Afghani foreign exchange student and hoarding toilet paper. This détente lasted until America started taking steroids in the 8th grade, eventually slapping Europe around despite claims that it still loved it. At about the same time, Russia started showering and realized that there were easier ways of making money than shaking down its relatives in the Balkans. It was still prone to temper tantrums, but it reached an uneasy alliance with Europe with the same adolescent wampum West Germany had used to buy friends after the war, booze and porn. Which brings us to the present day. Junior high is over, but the United States, at least in the guise of George Bush, isn't ready to move on. Bush is even inviting some of the guys that used to hang out with Russia, Ukraine, and Georgia to hang out with NATO. Russia and the Europeans aren't so sure because these days, every time Bush sends an invitation, it always lists the start time that's too early, never supplies an end date, and usually leaves a mess that's a pain in the ass for everyone to clean up. Putin, on the other hand, is the guy at the reunion who surprised everyone by being successful. He's still a little weird looking, but he's in shape and he's rich, which means France is finally starting to pay attention. Of course, it also means Bush wants to show he's still the toughest guy in the school. If we're lucky, Russia won't feel the need to prove itself by standing up to Bush. And if we're not, the term atomic wedgie is going to take on a whole new meaning. And that was the news in context.